He is on, I've called it Devoted Company in this case. It's the Collected Company deck with Devoted Druid combo, that kind of thing. So we'll see how that goes. His opponent, Jorj, is on Burn. Jesse looks to have taken a mulligan to 6 to start things off here, but he'll start his turn 1 still with a Forest and a Noble Hierarch. I like this deck a lot. I think this is what I would probably start playing if I were to pick a deck up right now. All right, so Jorj is going to start things off here with a Sacred Foundry untapped. And then he's going to attack for 2, reveal a Marsh Flats, which Jesse will put into his hand. And he'll fall to 18 as well. So it's 18 all to start things off here. Nice and quick. I have to feel like Jorj has the advantage in this kind of matchup. Just his spot removal to deal with the... to deal with any of the problem creatures is just too great, I think, for Jesse to overcome sometimes. We'll have to see. Jesse here thinking what he wants to do on his turn 2. We know he has access, of course, to a second land drop. He does have that Devoted Druid. Now, one important thing to note, something that's not... I don't think it's always common in all the deck lists. Jesse is playing 4 main deck Kitchen Finks. So he's got a lot of main deck life gain to work with here. He's going to start off his turn 2 by sacrificing a Marsh Flats to go and find himself some mana. He may go find something like a Godless Shrine here to lock up his colors. He sure does. So down to 15 goes Jesse. Jorj has to be happy about that, of course. A little extra damage never hurts when you're the burn player. So, however, Jesse has 3 mana, and this is going to be one of those Kitchen Finks. So that's going to totally reverse the Godless Shrine coming into play untapped. And it's also going to put a nice blocker up for that Goblin Guide, while also gaining 2 more life once it does die. Jorj does not have anything main deck that'll exile that, so it's just kind of going to be a problematic creature that's going to get in his way. And again, with 4 of them in the main deck, Jesse's got a lot of access to those cards. He does have a Collected Company in his hand. He also has an Eternal Witness, a Devoted Druid, and a Fiend Hunter. Jorj, on the other hand, is staring at a bunch of burn spells and, I believe, 1 more land. Yeah, he has a Scalding Turn. He's already played his land this turn, a Wooded Foothills. He's just going to pass the turn back. No attacks to be had. Doesn't want to play anything, just says go. So Jesse draws a very timely 3rd land, so his 4th mana source. So he's now able to actually cast that Collected Company. He's not going to want to do it right now, I don't imagine. He's just going to pass the turn you see there. Jorj will, at the end of his end of Jesse's turn, sacrifice away his Wooded Foothills, go and find himself a land. This may turn into a Boros Charm on the end step. I believe that was in his hand. He does, in fact, grab a mountain, so no shock required. Jorj is not actually playing anything in the main deck that requires green mana. He's not playing any copies of Atarka's Command in his 75 anywhere, actually. So... Some of the new burn decks are shifting over to be green or red-white. They've kind of dropped the green. So Jesse is going to respond to this Boros Charm by firing off his own Collected Company. This is because if he's able to find the other pieces of his combo, he'll just go to infinite life and win the game. And I think he did. Wait, is he? What is he grabbing here? I could have sworn there was a Viscera Seer and an Anafenza there. He found Anafenza and Vizier of Remedies. So he gets to bolster 1. I could have sworn there was a Viscera Seer there. Maybe not. Jesse does take that 4 from the Boros Charm. He falls to 13. Again, not too risky, though. He's still in a fine spot. Jorj has an Eidolon, another Goblin Guide, a Lightning Bolt, a Lightning Helix, and then I believe at the back of his hand he has a Rift Bolt or a second Lightning Bolt. I'm not too sure. He's going to take a read on the Vizier Remedies. We'll do the same. This is the new addition from a Monquette. This is kind of what... It's another Anafenza / Malira effect. But it works. It plays well with Devoted Druid. Since Malira doesn't actually let you... Malira doesn't let you pay the cost for Devoted Druid because your guys can't get -1/-1 counters. So if you... you can't untap Devoted Druid. Devoted Druid is the new tech to this deck. It wasn't in the deck until Amonkhet came out. Just due to the fact that there was no way to make it work. This Vizier Remedies makes it so that when you put that -1/-1 counter on, it just comes back off. You don't actually put it on. So Jorj will immediately get rid of that card. He doesn't want to see that in play. Again, Jesse's Collected Company did find him a pair of enablers, though. He's really just missing at the moment one of his combo pieces, and that is the Sacrifice Outlet. Right now, he just needs a Viscera Seer, which is the only one he has in his deck. He plays 2 copies of it, so he does have to find one of those, but... the Anafenza is a 1 of, the Vizier is a 4 of, so he's got lots left. Jorj's going to sacrifice his fetch land, go and find another mountain for himself. So down to 16 is Jorj. He may be firing off his Lightning Helix here. He just needs to clean up his Anafenza, basically. And I think that's a fine play. Looks like he might be leaning towards Eidolon instead. No, he's grabbing the Helix. Okay, yeah, sure enough, he does Lightning Helix away the Anafenza Kintree Spirit, which will put him back to 19. Jesse is now left 2 pieces short of the combo. Players just look to be checking life totals, making sure that they have the correct number. Jorj is in fact at 19 now to gain some life back. Alright, Jesse will untap and draw for his turn. I believe he found a Scavenging Ooze. Is that in his main deck? Maybe it wasn't Scooz. I'm not sure what it was then. I don't know what that was then. But thinking of what he wants to do here. Again, Fiend Hunter in hand. Gavany Township as well. So that must have been what he drew, was the Gavany Township. There it is. Not bad here. I mean, 3 mana is going to bring down a Fiend Hunter, which will exile this Goblin Guide. And then we're going to get him for 4. So Jorj down to 15. Jesse's also going to go ahead and play out his copy of Devoted Druid. So in hand for Jorj, we have an Eidolon of the Great Revel, a Goblin Guide, a Rift Bolt, and he's also drawn this turn a copy of Inspiring Vantage. So Inspiring Vantage is not going to be very useful here. He already has enough mana. He doesn't really need a 4th land. This turn could see him play out his new Goblin Guide. I'm not sure if he wants to play out the new Eidolon, or if he wants to suspend a Rift Bolt here. He can suspend Rift Bolt and set up the kill on the Fiend Hunter next turn to get back his other Goblin Guide. Don't know how inclined he is to do that. I don't think he's really in a great spot to be attacking here. It just won't matter, I don't think. So we'll have to see what he decides to do. Quick shout out here as well. We had a follower after our last stream on Wednesday night there. The Last Arnold. Thank you very much for following the channel. I've just sent you your 10% off discount code to top8gaming.com. Welcome to the channel. Jorj decides that he does want to attack, and he'll run in with a Goblin Guide there, which will get met by a block with the Fiend Hunter. And I mean, to me, that also kind of says that Jesse just doesn't care if Fiend Hunter even dies, really. Oh, Jesse missed Exalted. Okay. Okay. So Jesse forgot his Exalted trigger last turn, so his attack was only for 3, it turns out. But Eternal Witness will buy back Vizier of Remedies. Jesse will play the Vizier of Remedies. He's going to have infinite mana. Okay, so this is an interesting way we can do it here. So this is Deathwatch Recruiter. So the way that this combo works, Vizier of Remedies and Devoted Druid equals infinite green mana. You get to untap and tap the Devoted Druid over and over and over again. Thanks to its ability. We'll bring it up here. So there's the Devoted Druid. So yeah, place a -1/-1 counter on it to untap it. Vizier of Remedies, of course, we saw earlier, doesn't let that happen. You basically just have to put nothing on it and untap it for free. And you just essentially you get infinite mana there. Duskwatch Recruiter then allows you to pay 3 mana, look at the top 3 cards of your library, choose a creature, reveal it if you reveal a creature if you do put it into your hand. With infinite mana, it means he's going to go ahead and find his Walking Ballista. And then with his infinite mana still, he'll play an infinite Ballista and shoot Jorj for infinite. Another interesting interaction with the Walking Ballista, with the Duskwatch Recruiter. As long as Jesse's deck has a number not divisible by 3, he can stack his deck however he likes, because eventually it will get to the point he's looking for. So you're able to just kind of set up your deck however you want. You only have to worry about the top 3, but it's not really a big deal. I mean, he's only looking for 1 card. The deck plays a 1 of Walking Ballista, and that's the reason right there. It just gets to go infinite and end the game. So hooping into sideboards here, Jorj has access to 3 Path to Exile, 3 Destructive Revelry, 2 Core Firewalker, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Deflecting Palm, and 3 Searing Bloods. So out of Jorj's sideboard, I like bringing in Path to Exile. Seems good to stop the combo. Grafdigger's Cage is good because it stops the Collected Company and Court of Callings that I'm assuming Jesse plays somewhere, yeah. And I also like Searing Blood. Just another way to damage your opponent while also taking out one of their creatures. It also kills all of the key pieces of the combo. So it's just all upside to me. Jesse, on the other hand, has to bring in 2 Path to Exile, 1 Spell Skite, 2 Scavenging Ooze, 1 Selfless Spirit, 1 Quasaldi Pride Mage, 2 Quasaldi Pride Mage, 2 Abrupt Decay, 2 Tireless Tracker, an Eidolon of Rhetoric, an Orzhov Pontiff, and a Linvala, Keeper of Silence. So for Jesse's side, Spellskite is a pretty easy choice for me there. Scavenging Ooze is also very good in this matchup. That's probably all he needs. I don't see the Eidolon or Rhetoric doing a whole lot here. That's the Rule of Law on a stick. Selfless Spirit is a 1-for-1 trade, which I don't really like. Path to Exile. Maybe Path to Exile to deal with some creatures, but I don't think it's that important. Pride Mage doesn't do anything. Abrupt Decay is no good. Tracker's no good, I don't think. Pontiff's no use. Linvala is no use. So, yeah, a few cards there for Jesse. I don't think he needs a Fiend Hunter in his main deck right now. I don't think he needs that for this matchup. Yeah. Yeah, Jorj. I like Jorj's sideboard playing a little more in this matchup, so we'll see if it comes into effect. Again, he should have quite a few to bring in here. So we'll see what he does. Again, Grafdigger's Cage is going to be a big card to have in there. I think, yeah, with Jesse's main deck configuration, he doesn't actually have a way to get rid of a Grafdigger's Cage. He would need to just draw the combo and play it naturally. Which is very possible still. I mean, it's not like he can't do that. It's just... And looking at his hand here, he already has Kitchen Finks and Viscera Seer. So he's 1 piece away from just being able to go to Infinite Life, assuming Jorj doesn't have one of his Skull Cracks. He is playing 4 in his main deck, but again... No Atargus Command. He's playing a 5th. He's playing a 1-of copy of Flames of the Blood Hand, which is 4 damage and players can't gain life this turn. But it costs 3 mana. So Jorj started things off here with an Inspiring Vantage into a Monastery Swiftspear and an attack for 1. So Jesse falls to 19 to start it off. His draw for the turn was a copy of Scavenging Ooze, so a pretty solid draw. He'll just play a Windswept Heath and pass the turn. Jorj did draw a Grafdigger's Cage. It's not likely that Jesse brought in his Quasaldi Pride Mages. They just don't do anything otherwise. I guess they can kill like an Eidolon of the Great Revel, but that doesn't seem very good. So Jorj will play a Goblin Guide and then fire off a Lava Spike, which brings Jesse to 16. The attack will then bring him to 12. We have a reveal from Goblin Guide. It's going to see a copy of Devoted Druid. Jesse falls to 12 already, so Jorj, a much better start here. Jesse will sacrifice that win, so he doesn't need the Devoted Druid. That's not the game plan he's on here. At least not at this point. He's a little too early to go for that. He's going to need to get that Kitchen Finks down before he dies here. He may just need to play out Scavenging Ooze as a potential blocker and hope that Jorj doesn't have a Searing Blaze, or even in this case Searing Blood, to deal with it. Birds of Paradise a little bit late, unfortunately. He drew it on turn 2 here. Not really when you want that play. We're going to go ahead and sacrifice another Windswept Heath. Jesse just debating playing out that Birds. He's going to play both of them. He's going to play the Birds and the Viscera Seer. I think that's a fine choice. Jorj is probably going to go ahead here this turn and play out that Grafdigger's Cage. He also has Searing Blood, which is great here. It'd be great if it wasn't for that Viscera Seer, I should say, because Viscera Seer will be able to kind of negate the Searing Blood. I'm a little curious as to why Jorj brought in Destructive Revelries. Jesse didn't show him anything game 1 that card can actually hit. And even out of his sideboard, there's only, a 1 of Spellskite and a 1 of Eidolon Rhetoric. I think that's not a card you want if you're Jorj. I think the only target in the deck, obviously, is Walking Ballista, but that doesn't work. So Jorj does try to fire off the Searing Blood, but Jesse will correctly sacrifice Viscera Seer to itself to scry 1, which will prevent the Searing Blood from resolving. It'll just fizzle out, so no damage done this turn with that spell. It is still cast, so Swift Spear is still a 2/3, and we come for 4 more damage. Jesse has to decide if he wants to block here or not. His hand right now, a bunch of lands. No, it's not. It's a bunch of lands, a Scavenging Ooze, and a Kitchen Finks. So turn 3 is going to matter because he gets to play out that Kitchen Finks. He's debating if he needs this Birds or not. With his hand right now, I don't think he really does. But we'll see. He may... Okay, he is going to block with the Bird. He takes 2, so down to 8 he goes. Goblin Guide Trigger is going to reveal another copy of Devoted Druid. Jesse just can't get rid of that card. So another possibility here is Jesse could just play out the Ooze. I think I'm fine with this. He just gains 2 life right away instead of having to wait. Plus, if Jorj attacks, he gets to block and gain 2 more life. So now Jorj should play out this Cage, and that will stop the Kitchen Finks from persisting. Yeah, he's going to play the Cage out. Luckily for Jesse, he doesn't currently have anything in hand that really affects. The only thing it affects at the moment, of course, is the Kitchen Finks. Pretty important because, again, the Finks is, you want it to die and come back against burn for sure. But Eternal Witness comes down. That's a good one because it gets around the Cage. Right now, no real good targets. But Cage does stop the combo, so... Ghost Quarter comes into play for Jesse. Thinking what he wants to do here. Jorj right now is sitting on a copy of Boros Charm and a copy of Destructive Revelry. The Revelry, again, is just not going to matter here. It just doesn't do anything for him in this matchup. Unless he wants to blow up his own Grafdigger's Cage, which I can't imagine is a good call. Probably don't want to be doing that. Especially when it stops your opponent's entire combo. At least the infinite life gain part of it. It doesn't obviously stop the infinite mana and the go find Walking Ballista and kill you plan, but Stops the other one, which is pretty crucial to stop. Yeah, I feel like he almost might have brought it in because maybe he thought it could stop the combo or the walking ballista part of it. Unfortunately, just can't do that. Again, I mean, unless he's banking on his opponent bringing in Spellskite, which, I mean, again, Jesse probably is, but I feel that's like a pretty big hedge to just hope your opponent's bringing in Spellskites. There will be an end of turn Boros Charm, so Jesse will fall down to 6. He does need to be careful. Jorj doesn't have him dead just yet. Jorj drew for the turn. I believe that's a copy of Skullcrack. No, I think it's a Goblin Guide, actually. That's not really what you're looking for at this point, so... Yeah, I'm not too sure about that, Brad, either myself. I don't think it really was meant to come in here, but we'll see. Jorj thinking, so yeah, Goblin Guide was the draw for the turn, along with that copy of Revelry, which just is not going to matter. Jorj will play out the Goblin Guide. There is currently no green mana for Jesse. This is an attack coming in. It's not lethal right now. It's only 5 damage. However, Jorj has 1 card in hand, and he doesn't have green mana, so he can't Revelry his own cage to end the game if Jesse were to say no blocks, but... I have to say it'd be funny to see Jesse say no blocks, and if Jorj had the green mana, fire off his own Revelry on his own cage to end the game. But looks like Jesse has decided he will block all 3 creatures. Goblin Guide will reveal twice Eternal Witness. Scavenging Ooze will die. It'll trade off with a Goblin Guide. Devoted Druid just dies. Was Swift Spear not blocked by a Kitchen Finks? Yeah. Yeah, Jesse points out that's dead. So Jorj puts the Swift Spear in the graveyard. Groff Nula, thank you very much for that follow. We'll make sure to send you a 10% off discount code to top8gaming.com. Welcome to the channel. Again, thank you very much. All right, so Jesse here thinking what he wants to go ahead and do. His hand right now, Eternal Witness and I believe a Vizier of Remedies, but I'm not sure about that. Or actually, it might just be 2 Witnesses, actually. He's going to play one of the Witnesses and get back his Scavenging Ooze. Yeah, it was 2 copies of Eternal Witness. So his hand now is Eternal Witness and Scavenging Ooze. He's not able to play Scavenging Ooze this turn. He only has 2 green mana sources. Had to use both of them, of course, to play the Witness. Jorj will untap here. Jesse with no attacks. Didn't get a good look at Jorj's draw. It looks like it's a Searing Blaze, though. He's just missing the landfall right now. He sacrificed. He has no fetch lands in play right now, so a little bit awkward, but I mean, if he wants, it can kill Eternal Witness, which I think is okay. Jorj will just say go. Jesse will start his turn. Looks like his draw... I can't see. Might have been another Kitchen Finks, actually. He played Scoos. That's not a problem. We're actually going to get a little bit aggro here, though. We're going to come in for 5 damage. Jesse deciding he needs to maybe get this game done with before Jorj finds the right top decks. Jesse does have to watch his life total. He is at 6. And right now, Kitchen Finks dying will not be a source of 2 life. Jorj deciding what he wants to do here. Again, he could potentially block this kitchen finks just to get it out of the way. It looks like he's decided not to block. He'll just take the 5 damage. He falls to 12. Jesse did, in fact, draw another kitchen finks. So up to 8. It's a pretty big draw for him there. Gets him a little further out of being dead. Jorj now, of course, needs 3 spells or 2 Boros charms to end this. Might have been an issue there with Jorj might have seen an extra card by accident, potentially. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and shuffle. Minor fix. All right, so Jorj is looking for some help here. Jesse, he's not out of the woods just yet, but he's also recognized, you know what, it's time to start getting in there, get my own damage through. And Jorj needs to, of course, be aware of that because Goblin Guide, while it's a pretty decent attacker, it's not the most impressive defender. We're going to go ahead and, with Landfall, now play our Searing Blaze. Which will deal with the Scoos and deal 3 damage to Jesse. So Jesse now back down to 5. Back in the range, of course, of 2 burn spells. His draw looks to have been a land. If he wants, he would be able to buy back that Scavenging Ooze again. Jorj just can't keep it dead. It would, of course, take all of the green mana that Jesse has available. So, in Jorj comes for 6 more damage. Or in comes Jesse for 6 more damage, rather. Jorj will take all of that and fall down to 6. Eternal Witness will be the play. And we're going to get back... Yep, get back Scavenging Ooze again. Not too big of a surprise there. Looks like he's also going to fire off his Ghost Quarter, potentially. He plays his land for the turn. He may Ghost Quarter himself to get a green source, maybe? I don't know. I don't know how pertinent that it really is at this point, so... Like, if he's paying attention, Jorj has had 1 card in his hand this whole game. And that's that Revelry, which is just doing nothing for him. So Jesse will, in fact, Ghost Quarter his own planes after floating some mana. He's going to go ahead and grab himself, I imagine, a forest here to let himself play out that copy of Scavenging Ooze. Yeah, sure enough, there's that forest. Again, he has a white mana floating at the moment, so that's going to let him cast Scavenging Ooze. He has Wooded Foothills up. He does have to be careful because unless he plays a second forest, which... Okay, he does. Alright, Jorj will untap and draw. Needs some help from his deck here. He's just not getting it right now. And I think he's actually dead on the crackback here. Is he? Jesse has 5 attackers. Yeah, Jorj is dead on the crackback for sure. Yeah, and actually that was 2 games. I didn't update the score from the first one, but yeah, Jesse's gonna take this one in 2. So.